With the flick of her pen, she writes.
Hello, friends. Hello, and welcome to the final chapters of Rose and Sky, the third book in my Soulmates series. We're going to read these couple of chapters and then stay tuned to the very end, where I'll be giving some commentary about where I see this series moving forward, maybe looking at some of our soul friends that have come out in all three series, Reiki and Rock, Chaga and Chai, and Rose and Sky, and seeing how we might be guided to move things forward to maybe the next book in the series, or maybe onto something completely different. But for right now, thank you so much for reading along or listening along. All my ebooks are free to read. My Smashwords publisher link is in the notes of all of these audiobook episodes. Along with, you can find me at Google Books, Apple Books, Barnes and Nobles. Some of these books are in paperback at Amazon and Barnes and Nobles, but not necessarily all of them. But you can always read along in the ebook, or just join me as we do these. Whenever we're guided to do these, check our playlist for other audiobooks. Moxie and Roses is out there as well, and I think there's one more. YouTube and Spotify have those audiobook playlists if you want to listen to something else. And as always, I say use these little chapters too as an oracle. I've been doing more card readings on YouTube on the site. I may upload some of those to the podcast, but if you ever need direct, immediate guidance and you're just searching maybe for some confirmation, you can go to my podcast, my YouTube channel, my Instagram, my TikTok. Ask your question, close your eyes, take a deep breath, scroll, put your finger down somewhere in my feed, and you will, I guarantee you, I've done this many, many times myself with other people's, readings and stuff, you will get the answer that you need. Be it a card reading, a chapter of a book, there will be metaphors, meaning, messages, guidance, and advice in any of those for you. So thank you so much. Without further ado, here are the final chapters of Rose and Sky. Chapter 25, A New Day, A New Way. Morning rose over the island, and Chandra stirred in her bed. Her alarm had sounded way too early, as the night before had wrapped up well into the early morning. It was all she could do to get Sky to leave and come back for breakfast. She was exhausted, and her mind and emotions needed a deep clearing. She had worked with her guides in sleep time to clear and energize herself, and even though she'd only had 4 hours of sleep, it seemed like she could have gone on for more. She felt tired in her body, but her soul was ready to get going. Megan had prepared a large breakfast, and both Kylie and Tyler had shown up for the meal. Chandra came down to find waffles in the shape of gingerbread men, and eggs and bacon and many vegan treats, since Megan didn't know the dietary needs of everyone involved. She made a variety of things, and each one tasted better than the next, Chandra thought, filling her plate with eggs and vegan bacon and waffles and syrup. She didn't care about her diet today. She just wanted to have fun. Her newly cleared energy and dreams the night before had many messages about how she was shorting herself in the fun department. It didn't have to be business all the time. Chandra took her plate and went out onto the covered wraparound porch to the small tables and chairs where you could dine outside and watch the surf off in the distance. The screen door banged shut, and a very dapper and distinguished Sky Monroe placed his plate down across from hers. They both didn't know where to start, and they filled the awkward silence by passing butter for the toast and marmalade jam for the waffles, salt for the eggs. It was Chandra who spoke first, between bites of egg and maple syrup, a small bit of jam on her upper lip. "I don't want to fight anymore," she said with what seemed like a matter-of-fact tone, but Sky knew she was right on serious. "Me either," he said, knowing this could go one of two ways. "I've seen into our relationship dynamics in my dreams and meditations," she said, "and it's clear to me that unless you make a drastic change in your life, then we will never evolve together. She paused to gauge his reaction. He didn't know what to say. Was she asking him to drop everything and become some sort of monk? He didn't think he could go for that. I don't know what you want from me, he said, clearly not getting it. I know, she said sadly, and that is why we must part. She wiped a tear from her eye. I want something more than fights and warring over nothing. I want my peace and my freedom. I need my spirituality to be the main focus of my life. And if you're not ready for it yet, well, then... She stopped. I know, Sky said sadly now. I've already booked a flight home. It sounded like grimace. And so they sat and laughed over the silly way that the birds were trying to take food off the plates. And they looked at each other and smiled and ate. And when they were done, Sky picked up his plate and stood. With all the strength he could muster, he bent over and kissed her cheek. And then he went inside to get his bag. An Uber pulled up in the front drive, and Billy Wilson, the mayor's son, got out and opened the trunk of the little car. Sky came down the stairs with his things, kissed Megan goodbye with a heartfelt thanks for an amazing meal, and then walked out the door and down the steps off the porch. He put his bags in the trunk and stood outside the passenger door. Chandra looked on, and in an effort to conceal her sorrow, she used her napkin to dab her eyes. He looked at her one last time and waved as a tear fell on his cheek. He wiped it away and got in the car. The last thing Chandra saw was Sky, head in his hands, as the Uber pulled away from the small bed and breakfast. Chandra thought she would break, but she knew over time she wouldn't. She picked up her plate and went inside to get ready for the meeting at the town hall. She still had a lot to do on this island, and that was her primary focus right now. Love and romance and parting, sweet sorrow would all take a back seat for a while as she allowed her life to fall into place. She didn't have to wait long as the spirit of Dame Marsh tugged her sleeve. Chandra brushed it away with love and went outside. Chandra brushed it away with love and went upstairs. To dress. Maybe she's supposed to go outside. Today she had taken her power back. Today everything began anew, and soon she would know all the secret reasons they were parted. Chapter 26, Town Hall Meeting. Tyler was the first to arrive at the town hall. He pulled into the parking lot and realized that nobody else was around. Maybe no one but a few of them really cared about the island, he thought. Or maybe word just hadn't gotten out. What with the fires at the wharf and other goings-on about the small town? He lifted the large box out of the trunk and took a moment to admire the gold and diamond medal that was on top of it. There was a stamp in the middle of the medallion, and it looked like something to the effect of Black Bill and Gang, but it was smeared with dirt and age, and he couldn't quite read it clearly. Why would some old pirate and his mother, of all people, be connected to this box? He wasn't sure, but he carried it to the top of the steps of the hall and sat down to wait. Megan had packed him a thermos with hot coffee, and he pondered the last few days as he waited. He had wanted so much for Kylie to like him, but maybe she would never see him that way again. Maybe he had burned too many bridges. He sighed and took a drink of the warm brew, all the while hoping the others would get there soon. Megan arrived, and Chandra got out of the car and joined him at the top of the stairs. Rather than a selenite wand, this time she carried a smudge wand of white sage and lavender. She lit the bundle and waved the smoke around the box and the space. Tyler still couldn't understand what she was doing, but he let others have their own ways. He sipped coffee, and then he stopped as she smiled in his direction. All clear, she said, happy with the energy now. More cars started to arrive, and various townfolk, including Kylie and Mario of all people, made their way up to the town hall steps. When a few others had arrived, Dame Marsh and Black Bill signaled to Chandra that it was time to start. Friends of the island, Chandra channeled the messages coming from the two spirits. We've asked you here to help dispel the rumors about this place and to gift you with something that will make your lives easier. Chandra wondered what that could be as Kylie and Tyler glanced at each other. Consider this like the reading of a will. The spirits of Black Bill, the pirate, and Dame Marsh, his consort, are gathered here to gift you a legacy. It will mean something different to each one of you. Tyler wondered what they meant by his mother being a consort of a pirate, but at this point considered that with everything he had seen the last few days, then anything might be possible. To our beloved Mario, Chandra went on as the spirits directed, we gift you the deed to Chez Miguel's. Mario gasped. He had been paying the rent on this place for who knows how long, and each year the amount had increased. He always thought Dame Marsh, his landlord, had done it on purpose just to anger him. But now in this gifting of the building and land around it, he realized that all the while his dedication to this special restaurant in his home above had taught him the way of being a good businessman. He looked at the crowd as they cheered him on, and he rose off his step seat to climb the steps to where Chandra was waiting. The box of the treasure chest had been easily opened by Tyler, and he reached in to find a land and building deed for Chez Miguel's resting at the top of the pile of things he couldn't quite make out. Tyler shook Mario's hand, and everyone said a hearty, well-deserved or another to Mario. Next, Chandra went on, to my son, Tyler Marsh, I leave the keys to my home and my heart. The entire land and property of the west end of the island, including our family home and all other homes in the area, are in your charge now. I know you will do with them as you see best. I've spent my life in keeping them up to my standards, and now I allow you to take this destiny over. Tyler, the majority of the island now belongs to you. Chandra paused as Tyler lifted out a huge portfolio with what he could only guess were deeds and land trust paperwork. Now, Chandra channeled, Tyler will require a good partner, someone who sees the beauty of this place and who will appreciate the land here, someone who is an earth angel and will ensure that this island is conserved with the natural world being the utmost priority. Kylie, I would like you to take on the honor of this position. Kylie gasped. She was being appointed as some sort of island conservator. She felt excitement and bewildered at the same time. She would have to work with Tyler, and a twinge of excitement went through her. She went to the top of the stairs, and Tyler handed her keys to what would be a small home on the beachfront that also had an office and everything she would need to get started in her new role. Tyler and Kylie embraced and then went to take a seat. And lastly, Dame Marsh and Black Bill channeled on, to our beloved daughter, Megan Marsh. Chandra stopped and looked at her sister Megan. But how, she wondered. We give you the deed to the bed and breakfast, and all the answers you could want are here in this diary. Megan wasn't sure what to make of this revelation. She had always felt different somehow from Chandra, and she realized that maybe that was why. Her parents had not really been her biological parents. Maybe that was why she held such an affinity for the island and had left the care of Langdon Rose at such a young age. She was meant to be on the island with her true mother and father, or at least the spirit of them. So much made sense now as she rose to accept her land deed and trust and a large leather-bound diary book. She hugged Chandra, and they both thought about the conversations that would need to be had over this hot topic. Megan wasn't mad or scared or anything. She just felt a deep peace in her heart. And lastly, Dame Marsh and Black Bill continued through Chandra, we leave this treasure map in the hands of Tyler Marsh. It contains the whereabouts of the remaining treasure and will be used for the upkeep and renewal of the island. You will find there that it's enough there to carry this island forward for many, many years to come. Everyone present somehow felt a strange shock come over them. Their little daily reality had been strangely shattered on this day, and no one could quite understand how it would evolve moving forward. Everyone there loved the island and the others present, and it was with a deep respect for each other that they decided to put their best foot forward and move into their new realities. What would come of Chandra and her healing heart? Would Megan ever find the love of her life? Would Tyler and Kylie ever figure it out and get together? So many questions await you, dear reader. Our gift to you is the knowing that in time, all things can change, and love can truly conquer all. Okay, well, I wasn't expecting that ending. I have not read these books. I had to take a little pause for a second. I haven't read these books in quite some time since I channeled them. If you're not familiar with how I write my books, they're all channeled, like all the work that I do on anything I do at TLC for the Soul. And the books are all come via automatic writing. I don't plan out books and chapters and book outlines. I don't do any of that. I just sit down with the spirits of the story, and I put my fingers on the keyboard, and I just write what I hear in my head. And during the course of doing this audiobook for this Soulmates series, each day that I've done a reading, I've never read ahead. Reiki and Rock I was pretty familiar with. Chaga and Chai, I kind of knew. This one, I had no recollection of what I had written. And the final chapters, the last, excuse me, 4 or 5 days, I don't remember any of this, but they played out into what's going on in my life right now as it's happening each day. Some of the things that were coming up for the spirit friends in the book were kind of coming up for me as well. So that always happens when I enter into a container, any work that I do, any of the experientials that I do on TLC for the Soul. Once you enter into a sacred container, your outer world starts kind of aligning to the inner world of some of the spirit things that are coming through, and the stories and the channelings and the pick of cards and experientials that I do. Now, it's very telling too that this Soulmate series ends almost pretty much right at my birthday, because my birthday I think is on Monday, the 3rd of June. And I have other finished books I could do audiobooks for, but I'm going to take a little break from audiobooks, just maybe about a week or so, and I'll pick the next one. But and then I'm not even really sure. I love the Soulmate series. I also love the Bringers of the Light series, and I think I can continue to work on both at the same time. I definitely see a Soulmates series number 4. Chandra has shown up in every single book of the Soulmate series, and she deserves to find her person that's right for her, maybe do some healing work around her heart. New friends that have been introduced here, Tyler and Kylie, I want to know what's going to happen with them, so I definitely still feel the passion around the Soulmate series, and I think you all have too, because each day as I've dropped chapters, I see more and more people engaging with the audiobook. And if you haven't started at the beginning, then you might want to go back to Reiki and Rock and start there, because in a sense, some of this is a continuation of the story. Maybe not exactly in a quote unquote timeline format, but as healing journeys, it definitely is. What I've also been doing each day is putting Bringers of the Light fanverse notes up. If you pay attention to the community tab on my channel on YouTube, each day that I drop a chapter, I put in the comments the notes of kind of the little preview of what the chapter's about, and then I put some Bringers of the Light fanverse notes, which I will be doing. I will be compiling those at some point and putting them somewhere. I have made a Bringers of the Light fanverse page on my website. I plan to do something more with that. I just put a few little things there for now. So if you're falling in love with the Bringers of the Light, which I consider all the work that I do Bringers of the Light work, light warrior, spiritual war, whatever you want to call yourself, that's what we call it here at TLC of the Soul. We're a bringer of the light. And if you enjoy this, if you want to take your experience deeper, join us on Sundays when I do Bringers of the Light Sundays, and we do work on a book together. I channel in a chapter every Sunday, and we use that to pull out metaphors and so forth for the week ahead. And in the process of doing that every Sunday, we're building a book. And then by the end of whoever, Spirit tells me when these books end. I don't say like there's going to be 20 chapters, going to be 15 chapters. I don't know. Some of these have been shorter than others, but I just trust that that's what needs to be delivered at the time. I don't worry about page counts or word counts or outlines, or I just let things flow and fall where they might. And Spirit has never let me down in terms of, it takes a lot of trust to channel a book, to sit there and put your fingers on the keyboard and not know what the heck is going to come through. And it ends up being these books. And I have, I think, 15 published books so far. One of them is a nonfiction book. If you're interested in a healing journey book, one that'll take you about probably 12 to 18 months to complete the entire journey, then I'd highly recommend Eat Like a Lemurian. It is a nonfiction book. It is free to read as an ebook. It is not out. I don't know if it's out there in print format. I don't know. Some of them are and some of them aren't. I'm going to figure that out here soon about what I'm going to do with the printed versions of books, because I know people like to have physical books in their hands too. Some of these shorter ones, though, I didn't feel like it was necessary to put them in a little teeny tiny short book, and I may compile them into some sort of collection at some point. But I just wanted to wrap up what I have so far in the Soulmates series. I feel like this Soulmates series for me, with the beginning of the first book, Reiki and Rock, started way, way back in 2016 or 2017. And now here we are, getting to the audiobooks of all of those. And I feel like there's a new start to my personal journey, and maybe that is for you too. Very telling as we finish this series out and then get ready to start a whole new, trilogy, I guess, of Soulmates series. So with that being said, I want to thank you all so much for joining me on this journey. And I will see you somewhere else on the TLC for the Soul interwebs or in the astral world, since we're all part of the same soul family. Thank you so much for joining me here. Take care.